received an email a couple of weeks ago. This is pretty much what happened.
Whoa! Hey, honey, I've got some news. I'm afraid I'm not going to be here this weekend coming. Well, I've just got a customer ask especially for me to go out and install a load of gear on his bike, but he's not in the UK, he's in Thailand. I know! Hey, what can I say? Alright, so I'll see you next week. Alright, bye. Love you.
And just like that, I was catching the next flight to Thailand with a suitcase full of Denali electronics to install on a BMW R1250GS Adventure HP.
I'm here with my tour guide, Rodel from the Philippines, although we are here in Thailand. Just going to get some
beautiful weather here.
Different weather. Yeah, it's been raining today, but it's very warm. We get some pretty good shots using the drone. We get the drone up over those mountains and see what we can get. In amazing Thailand. What a fantastic place this is. I almost forgot that I'm actually here working, but it wouldn't be a shame to come all this way and actually not see the beauty of this place. It's fantastic. So I need to now go and sort this guy's bike out and stick all the Denali lights to it so he's a happy customer, and then back to the UK. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. See you soon.
Right, good morning. Here we are on location in Thailand, fitting out loads of Denali gear to this customer's bike. The weather is fantastic. I'm going to get a bit hot and sweaty today. I'm not used to this climate. So if you haven't already seen it, click on the link just up here so you can see the installation for the R1250GS HP. That's relevant whether it's an HP or not, but the link's up there for that one, and I did that just a couple of weeks ago. But now we're going to kit out this really beautiful brand new R1250 HP here in Thailand. I'll try and stop saying that, Thailand. So the customer has decided to go for some D7s as MES 4s, but he still might change his mind. That's possible. So let's start the video now. So I'll get as much close-up work as I can using the camera you're looking through now, and I've got another camera here getting some close-up stuff. Right, so first things first, remove the seats. Right, so first things first, we're going to remove the seat adjuster. So he's got it in high mode, so must remember to make sure that it goes back into high mode at the end. So we take this out. Right, so on the GS Adventure, my recommendation is to actually take all the top of the tank off and the front nose. Now, you don't need to take the front nose off, but we're going to, just because sometimes I choose to do it, sometimes I choose not to. It's possible to do it without taking it off, but you can just see more. It's quite easy to route the wires as well if you can take all this off. So, whereas you don't need to on the standard GS, and obviously you can see that video on my channel. So to do this, making sure the camera can capture everything, we're going to take the there's 2 screws just inside the little tank cover, just here. So we're going to take these out, and what I do is the screws that come off the tank cover, I put inside the little tank cover, you know, the little compartment at the front. That way, you know, and just double check, these screws have not got no shoulders on them. So now I'm going to take the 2 screws off at the base, which is just down here. And then what we're doing is you've got 2 screws up at the top, like facing the cockpit. So if you can't get a small screwdriver, I can get my driver in here. So now, I had a question on my last video saying, what is this name of this little driver? It's so cheap, 15–20 pounds from home base, and it's called Ozito. I'll show you this, Ozito. And it's quite cool because I can just fit all the necessary torque sizes inside the little barrel. So the screws coming out the front here have got small shoulders on them. But I know this, but if you struggle, if your memory's bad, then make sure you make a mental note or write it down somewhere. So put that inside there. Put the wheel the other way so I can get to the screw on the other side. Okay, so that's all the screws off the top part of the tank. Then we're going to take the screws off from the top of the wing. So we're going for these 2 here. Now this one, all you do is you loosen them and take them out with the rubber grommet inside them. So I've got the whole thing like that. If you let go of the bottom, they're going to fall apart. And so just put them down on somewhere safe so they're not going to get scratched. And then the same on the other side. Okay, so on the front of the bike, we are going to go up here. So literally as I come underneath the beak, you can see there's a screw here, a screw on the other side, just there. You undo that, and also there's one just back here. So you undo 3 screws underneath here. So the front 2 screws will obviously take the actual nose section off. These are shouldered. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put those screws back into there, so we never get the wrong screws back in the holes. I can't stress this enough to someone who's not used to doing this. You don't want to get the wrong screw in the wrong hole. If it's got a shoulder or not a shoulder, you can wreck a panel. And you've got that other screw I mentioned just back there. We're going to undo that. There's only 3 screws under here anyway, so you can't really get the wrong one. And that's got a shoulder the same size as the other ones. So we'll leave this out for a second because we're now going to start dismantling this. But before we do that, we're now going to take out the screws on the side of the bike, which is this one here. There's no shoulder on that. And the other thing we're going to do is there's a Torx nut just inside here. We're going to undo that as well. And that is a T40. So don't worry, we're not taking the actual crash bars off. We are just pivoting them out from the bike so we have better access to where we need to get to. So by swiveling that out, it just comes out like that. And then the other side. Okay, so the very final bolt that needs to be removed is just down there. The camera, well, unless I pick up with my hands, you can't really see it, but it's right in the middle of the bike, right behind the forks, very central. Unfortunately, I don't have the right tool to undo it, so I really need to order a nice narrow Torx head to get down there. So what I do is you have to get creative. So it's a T30. Double check it's not the T40. Yeah, it's definitely a T30. And then I just use a pair of grips. So I go down onto it and get the grips on top of it and undo it. And remove the bolt that way. So that is an odd size bolt, so obviously you're not going to get in the wrong hole, but just pop that inside the cover like so. So now we're in this state, we can now remove all these panels that we've just loosened the screws on. Okay, so to do this, you need to pivot the handlebars around. There's also one more screw still to come undone actually. And this is the key thing which a lot of you are going to want to see. So when we've got it in this state here, we're now going to pull this down. As you pull this down, you'll expose a screw just down here. I just want to make sure you can see this on the camera. Right. So there's a screw just there. Okay, now to get to this, it's not an easy thing. So you can either get a small Torx head, the one that fits it preferably, and you can literally be patient and keep going in and out and undoing it. Or, now I prepared this literally just before I caught my flight to come out here, is I've got basically, I want to show you this, it's fantastic. So a very small torque wrench, make sure you can see this okay. Very small torque wrench. Yeah, you can just about see that, yeah. And then because a typical drill bit was, not drill bit, a typical fitting was too long, I've put it into my bench vise at the workshop and got an angle grinder to it, a disc cutter, and cut it in half so it's really, really short. Now, you're going to find out at the same time as me whether this is going to work or not. So when you look at it, it literally sticks out a tiny amount, because if I put a full-size one in there, it sticks out too far and it doesn't actually do the job. So here goes. And do you know what? It still doesn't work. But it's worth trying. It still doesn't work because of just the shape of where that bolt is. So we're going to have to go in the old school way and just use a little Torx key and take your time and undoing that. But it's important to loosen off these crash bars because it means you can get the air vent cover, the thing I'm pulling out with my left hand, you can get it out a little. Now some people would remove this whole cover. You don't have to. I think I've got that loose enough, probably I can do that with my fingers now. Yep. This is definitely one of those screws that if you didn't know about, you'd probably end up trying to get the panel off, not realising it's there, and you'd snap the panel. And this is a shouldered screw. So with that like so, we can now start taking that side piece off. The actual tank cover comes off first though, and I need to remove the screw from the other side as well. So let's take this off. So all you do is you literally prise it up and it pops off, just like that. And this one, so there's a little pin and a grommet at the front. And first of all, we need to separate these two here. Can we see that on the camera? Well, you can see it on the front camera. All I've done is I just pulled that apart at the front. You can only do that once you've undone the screws underneath. Actually, from looking at it, it's probably better we take this side off first before we take this one off. But there's two pins at the front going through some rubber grommets which are attached to the panels, which I'll show you in a minute. So when you pull it off, it's got to come forwards before you just take it straight off. Okay, so here we are coming in for this screw at the front. So should we see if my new invention works down here? Because it is different each side. No. I need to try and make a tool to get to that. So in we come again. So that's off there, that's off there, and what we're going to do is just pull this forward and unclip it from here. There's little clips under here. There we go. That comes forwards. It is a bit of a wiggle, but just be patient with it. Don't force anything, because lots of things are sliding in and out of each other. Just push that back again. Out of the way. And there it is. And the same on this side. Remember, there's a little pin under here which I'll show you on when I take this one off. So we're going to unclip all the little louvers that go into little holes on the top here. Pull this back. That's already loose off the front. And then work its way out. So the little thing I was telling you about, I'll show you on this camera. So you can just about see there's some tiny holes. There's one just there with a little rubber grommet on them. And you can see on the picture just here, these are the pins that go through those rubber grommets. So when you put it back on again, you've got to make sure you get those rubber grommets over those pins before you start attaching the panel, just so everything lines up perfectly. That's as much as you need to take off on the GS to get the Denali installation done. No need to take these side panels off, not unless you really, really wanted to. We might end up loosening these panels off the side later on if I struggle getting the wires all threaded through. But that's basically it. Right, let's start putting all the lights on. Just had a little break, now we're coming in for the next bit. I forgot to unscrew this bit here. So there's 4 screws here, well, 2 bolts, 2 screws. So all we're doing, on my previous video of the GS, I remove this, I loosen it, but because we've got much better access now that the top parts come off, we can just take it straight off. Now these are bigger screws for this, so make sure you don't get them confused with anything else. Oh, I didn't record that, did I? I didn't record it. So I've just undone these 2 screws here. So I've taken them out, and now I've just loosened these bolts off here. Now I did show on the GS video that I just loosened this one because you don't have to take the tank panel off, but because it's all off, it's you may as well take it off, but you don't need to either. So I'm just going to take those bolts out. So there we are. So just take those out of there. Oops. All right, so just leave that like that. This gives us great access to get through here to thread the wires through. Right, I'm just taking the battery panel off. And you've got a pin and a pin going through a rubber grommet. So you try and pull it off straight and just check the rubber grommets are still there, because sometimes they fall out, and I've seen it so many times where people don't even realise they've come out. Whilst you're down here, pull off that red cover. We'll put that on later. And then also whilst we're down here, you've got like a black strap with two locating points at the bottom. Looks like a pair of braces. Just pop that off and just tuck that up there. Right. So with the CANsmart, you get a full instruction leaflet inside here. Obviously read it. You might find out something useful. This is for your brake light. If you're going to put a B6 rear light on, which this customer is, you need that. You then got some wiring, 3 wiring harnesses there. One for the sound bomb, one for circuit 1 and one for circuit 2. Circuit 1 and circuit 2 are identical. This customer is having more than one set of lights, so I'm going to be pulling both harnesses through. And also the sound bomb cable. Right, so this is the CANsmart. So I'm going to get this wired in ready before we start putting all the lights on. So it's good practice to do this. Just take the fuse out that's inside here. And if you're not strong enough, with your fingers, just gently pry it out with a pair of pliers. So take the fuse out, and we'll pop it in later when it's all wired in. Okay, so we're going to start by taking these two ends. We're going to tape them together and thread them through. That's that bit there. Now we're going to grab the harnesses, because this is the trickiest part when it comes to actually the harnessing, pulling all the harnesses through. So you know what's wonderful, because the climate out here is so warm, these cables are so loose. It's kind of funny. You know, back in the UK they're like really rigid, but the heat's really got to them and they're really floppy. It's strange, but wonderful nevertheless. Pointless comment. So we're going to do one at a time. Now I have tried it before. I've tried this many different ways. Putting all three together, you're just never going to get them through. Just be patient with the process. Do one at a time, and put the bring the largest ones through. So do the sound bomb last, because as you can see, it's got a smaller plug on there. I'm taping this to the CANsmart. Pull that like so. So one thing I've just noticed actually, which is different to UK, because I've worked on these R1250s so many times, that this ECU is a different shape to the ones in the UK, because I am really struggling to get the opening down here is so much smaller, but I have got it through, as you can see. Just need to keep pulling that through. You can see I'm struggling a bit with this one here. And there it is. So then pull the tape off. And then we're going to do it again. So it doesn't matter which one you pick. So I'm strapping it to the cable I just pulled through. I'm going to put a bit more on this one, because I feel like this might be a little bit tricky. I don't want it to come apart. So wiggle that through. So never pull or force this. You just want to keep wiggling its way through. Here it comes. It just gets stuck. The corners of the plug just get stuck on awkward pieces that are underneath here. And the next one will be even easier because it's a sound bomb cable and it's got a smaller plug on it. Hence why I left this one till last. And look at that, straight through. So that is the hardest part of actually pulling the harnesses through. Right, so now it's like that. I'm actually going to plug the CANsmart into the bike now. So at the back here, you've got a plug. You just don't use a screwdriver. You just push in the little wing at the top, and then just pull the plug back, and there it is. It comes off like that. We plug this into the only available socket it's going to go into. If you try and get it the wrong way, it won't work. It's all polarized. So you push that on there until it clicks, and the only plug that's on the CANsmart, that'll go back into the way you just taken it out from. Same again, if you put it the wrong way, it won't work. So we turn it around. Push on until you get that click. There we go, clicked on. And then with the wires that are left over, if I can just get them. The sound bomb cable is the green and black, but it's going to say this in the instructions. So you plug the sound bomb in. It only goes on one way. You can't plug these in the wrong way around. So then I've got, if you notice, I've got two wires here on the CANsmart, which have got three wires going to the plugs of red, yellow, and black. Now the longer one of the two is circuit 1. So it doesn't matter how you put these on right now, because we'll get it right when we actually test it. And if you find out you've got the lights that you want on circuit 1, if they're on the wrong circuit, you just come back here and just switch them over. So we're just going to plug these in. That's that one on. And then for the brake light, we're putting this little piggy back on. And this goes on the orange and black. So this is every single plug being used, every circuit being used on the CANsmart. And that will be attached later on when we put the rear light on. So nice and smart. Got the wires coming out here. And they're going to be threaded through under here, which we'll do after we've connected the battery to the CANsmart. So let's do this one now. To do this, this is my little trick that I showed on a previous video. We're going to undo this screw on top just here. So we're going to grab the battery connector from the CANsmart, and we're going to come down through here. The reason we undo this is because you will never fit this through down here. So we're going down through here. Just pull that across. and pop that through. Once that's through here, you then slide under there. You see? It's like one of those little clever tricks, like a Houdini trick or something. And then you're automatically through to the other side. You can then work your way round and bring it all the way to the front. There we go, as you can see I've got that all the way round to the front section now. Now you can, if you want to, you can take it through the top here and come down and bring it out above there, but you know, and I have done that before in the past, but I like to just come up underneath here. It's a fully waterproof braided cable. There's nothing wrong with doing this at all. This is a matter of preference. You know, I see a lot of people remove the fuel tank just to get this cable in. It's just not necessary. There's no difference between it being a bodge job or a proper job. It really doesn't matter at all, because there are loads of wires down here already which take the same path. There's no need for you to go under here for this particular connection. I promise you, this is not me cutting corners, because I can easily get that through there, no problem at all. I felt I need to say this because I see so many videos online where people remove too much, you know, make such a quick job. Actually, well, it's not a quick job, but they just make it even harder and longer to do. We're now going to connect this up. So the orange is the live. Obviously the live has got the fuse on it. So we're going to connect the live to here, and then the ground to the negative. And then we're just putting the ground on. Okay, so now we're at this stage here, we can now pop the fuse back in, because they're all connected up. And I mentioned it on a previous video, the only thing you want to be careful when you're tightening, especially this one up, is as you can see, I used my my hand tool, but sometimes I might use a torque wrench, which will come right out to here, and so you have to bear in mind this is live, and your engine, all this is grounded. So if your torque wrench touches this, you're going to mark it. So be very, very careful whenever you're touching this, because you don't want the torque wrench to touch that and touch anything ground on your bike. Sparks will fly. So it's all about just being tidy here. Like, where do you want to hide the this fuse and the wires that are down here? So you just tuck them wherever, really. Don't forget a cover's going over this. So, and now I can reattach this little rubber cover. That's all held in there nicely, and we can put the cover back on. Don't forget the little red cover that pops back on top, and then you got little pins on the back of this panel which go into rubber grommets. Remember that some people like to put a dab of grease inside here, or just wet it with your finger, just so you know that when you put the pins in, it's not going to pop the grommet out. That's it, that's on there fine. Right, let's screw that back on. Okay, so that's that panel back on. Right, so now we're going to pull all these wires through to where we need them to be. So there's no need to take any of this paneling off on the side. Now with the GS Adventure, it's easier to leverage the tank up because you get a little bit of movement here. So rather than threading everything through, obviously we've had to undo this to do what I'm about to show you, is we're going to literally slide in from the side. So by grabbing something which isn't going to scratch the bike, so I've got a very soft handle pair of grips, I'm going to come in on the side and just prise the side of the tank up, and one at a time, just start pushing them through. Like that. And then just give that a lift. Oh, I could have done it like that in the first place. And then you want to get it into the tracks of the where all the other wires are routed. Just popping it up. I've now got it lying on top of the other wires that are already there. And like I said, no threading through, so no wires getting stuck. It's just sliding it over on top. And now we have it like that. You'll see a bunch of other wires down here, OEM wires off the bike. You literally just run it along with them. Now, we're going to be pulling a lot of this through later on, so you don't have to do a really good job of this at this point, because you're going to be pulling it back because you don't want to leave any slack at the front of the bike. So what we're going to do now is just put a bit of tape around the wires. Very loosely, like this, so it's all together, and we're just going to thread it through. So where I'm going, because I haven't got my bike ramp here, so I'm going to get this as close as I damn well can. Right, so where we're going is up through here, and I haven't got my carbon fibre rod, and I haven't got a coat hanger either. But it just goes to show how easy this is. So we're going to go up through here. And you'll be able to get to the wires from the front and pull them through as well. So I'm now going round to the front of the bike. Yeah, I can see them at the front. I'm going to reach through and pull that so you can see the wire now coming through. I'm just going to leave that lying on the front mud guard. So like I say, you don't need to tuck these in just yet, and when we're done we're going to cable tie this up nice and high. There's a load of wires up here which we can attach it to. They'll be out of sight as well. So hopefully you can see that. There's the wires coming through, and all this is going to be cable tied to the white part of the framework you see over here. Have it all cable tied up to there. So now, whilst we're at this stage, I'm going to leave these here, and we're going to get the lights fitted to the bike. See these holes here? On the previous video of the GS, you can't see these holes very well on the video, but because we've taken all the panels off, you can now really see that hexagonal hole. There's one on the other side as well. We're using the mounting kit for the R1250. So as you can see, this is the mounting kit for the R1250. It's got a completely straight down piece, which is going to bring the lights further forward, so the lights won't be sitting too close to the front silver panels you get on the bike. So we're going to put the left side on first. So because I haven't got anyone here to help me, we're going to do one side at a time. So that's how it is. You then come up underneath, put the washer on top, and very loosely put the nut on. And then we're going to do the same with the other side. Let's bring the camera round for that. So this comes up under like that. The washer, can you see the the narrow shoulder? That has to, when it comes up, it has to sit and go inside that hexagonal hole on the bike. So this comes up. Let's get the washer and the nut ready. There it is. Don't need to get the shoulder through just yet, because it's only going to fall out again. Right, so there we are. That's the mount in place. Can you notice as well, I'm making sure, it say it in the instruction manual, I'm pretty sure it does, I haven't read these instruction manuals yet for this one, that the front part of this is facing forward. Do you know what? I'm going to check. I am going to check, just in case it's not right, but I know it is. It'd be funny if I'm wrong, wouldn't it? God, the humidity is so high here, even this paper feels damp. Right, okay. Do you know what? I cannot stress how important it is to read instructions, because if I'd fitted like this, I'd have been wrong. Do you know what? I actually like it when I'm wrong sometimes, because when you're wrong, you learn something. So this is actually the other way round to how the R1200 bracket fits. It's span around the other way. So that's fantastic. So we need to take this off again and just spin it round. So it goes on this way round, which I'm actually quite pleased about, because the difference between the 1200 and the 1250, because the 1200's got an angled piece on it, and it angles a lot, and then I saw this going straight down. I thought, that's quite a jump forward, that is. But because it's now mounted the other way around, it's not coming as forward as I thought it would be, which is really good, because it doesn't need to come that much further forward. And there we are. I'm just going to do a double check again. Nothing wrong with double checking. It's all about doing a proper job. Yep, that's correct. Now what we're going to do is start tightening this up. So I use a 13mm socket on the bottom, a 13mm spanner on the top. Get it so it's just about biting, but not quite, because we don't know if that shoulder's in yet. Okay. That one's already in, I can feel it. It's all the way up. And this one, well, I know it's all the way in because loads of thread is through, so they are all the way in. That's great. Just give the spacer a little bit of a spin as well. That'll give you an idea that it's in. And just check the front to make sure it's all level, which it is. Okay, let's tighten her up. There we go. While that's on, we're going to hang the D7s from it. That's that one. Yeah. That's great. Right, now we've got that, we're now going to put the sound bomb on. Ooh, the heat is getting to me. Ooh. What time is it? It's 12:20 in the afternoon. Plus I've got jet lag, I'll still be in bed normally by now. I think 6-7 hours difference. Right, so now we're putting the sound bomb together. So as I've shown on previous videos, this is not symmetrical. One side is shorter than the other. So either use a tape measure, or if you've got a really good eye for it, you'll see it. It's only 5mm difference. From what I can see, this has got the long side and that's got the shorter side. The shorter side goes on the sound bomb. So when you look at the sound bomb, you're thinking, oh, how does it go on? How does it go on? So you'll see where the sound comes out of, this thing here. That needs to be facing the front at the bottom. Okay, so it's literally going to go like that on the bike. So then this, using the shorter side, which I've just lost, which is this here, is going to fit there. All right, so to get this on, you pass the bolt that comes in the box with it through. You pop that on the back. It's got a nylon thread at the end of it to lock it on. Slide it over the top. Grab a spanner and just tighten her on. As soon as that nut is inside the back of the sound bomb, it grabs onto it. So we're now going to fit the sound bomb to the bike, but because I haven't got my ramp here with me, and to get everything in a proper positioning, trying to get a camera, it's going to be too difficult to do it here. So please click on the link either up here or down in the description, which will take you straight to the sound bomb installation. I'll make sure the link down below will take you straight to it, rather than having to watch the whole video. Okay, so if you click on that, and that'll show you the actual sound bomb installation on the GS, which is exactly the same as on here. It's just that I just can't show you on here, but it's no different. And then come straight back and finish watching the end of the movie, or video. Right, so what we're doing now is we're just going to plug. I'm not fitting the S4 lights until I've got all the crash bars back in place, so I can line it all up. So we're just going to plug everything in. So I've untaped all the wires here at the front, and just going to loosely plug them in. I always like to test everything before we finish installation. It's only happened on 1 or 2 occasions over many installations I've done where there's been a problem. That's both the lights wired in, and we've got the sound bomb here. Okay, let's power them up. Right, so the S4s have come on. If I flash, right, what this tells me, because the D7s haven't come on, they probably did come on, I didn't see them, it tells me I've got them on the wrong circuits. So I'm just going to turn that off, because the D7s can't exist on circuit 2. It just blows the fuse. When I say blows the fuse, it won't actually blow the fuse, it just turns it off. Right, and so to reset the fuse, you just turn the ignition off on the bike. Easy as that. So let's turn it on again. So now you can see we've got D7s on circuit 1. There's the S4s. They're turned on circuit 2. It works. Good. Right, so that's everything working fine, and then once it's all properly installed, we'll then go through the settings on the app to make sure we've got everything running at the right intensity for running light and a main light. So what I'm going to do now, because I want to actually unplug these again, is just make a note of which one is circuit 1. Like, I changed it here, I could have changed it at the CANsmart, so it's actually not a big deal, so I'm actually not going to mark it up, because we'll just swap them over at the back. Right, so let's unplug that. Right, so now we're just going to tidy up this front section. So I want to get these up top so we can make all the connections at the top, because the customer's from what he's telling me, is that he might want to swap out the S4s and put in D4s, or might run D4s and S4s together. So I think he's having both sets, but we're not fitting both S4s and D4s today. I thought I possibly was going to change these over for the S4s and hang them from here, but I don't think it's the case. We're going to put the S4s up here. Right, so let's get these up top. Okay, so I've got these wires up here. That's going to power both the S4s and the D7s together. The sound bomb cable, I can pull that through and get rid of that slack. So it's the thinnest cable out of the two. But we just make sure we're putting the right one. Yeah, that's the right one. So I'm going to start cable tying the cable tie the sound bomb cable up now. But to see, because I can't get the camera underneath there, to see a better picture video of where the cable ties are all fitted, look at the video up at the top on another video. So just had a fantastic lunch. Pad Thai cooked by local Thai, well, the lady of the house. So it's very appreciated. Right, okay, so we're now just gonna get this all back together again now. So as you saw, I've already got the wires up the top here, so they're ready to connect. And now we're gonna route these wires up the top. We're gonna get it all put back together, and just before it's all finally put together, we're gonna put the S4s on before I put the beak on, so we can route the wires through the top and connect those up as well. So I'm just going to route these wires up, so it's going to be difficult to actually video this. So the route I'm going to take, I'm just looking now, I'm going straight up. Now hang on, I could, no, that's not the best way to go. Actually, no, it probably is. I like that way, actually. I think I'm going to go a complete different new way. Yes, I like that a lot. Let me just double check. Yep, we're going to go a completely different new way. Right, so because you're not going to see any of this wiring when the beak is on. So using cable ties, we're going to attach the wire on the back of the Denali to this the actual light mount itself. I'm going to take it probably. That's it. I'm going to attach it right at the very top. Let's get some black cable ties. So I've decided to, right, so I'm literally going to cable tie it to the spacer. That's used on the light mount. Obviously you can only really do this if you take the beak off to do all this. Trim. And another cable tie a little bit lower down. It's not needed really, but just so we haven't got any loose bits. You shouldn't be able to see that cable tie when the beak is on. That's high enough. And that's nice and tidy where the wire exits the back of the light and comes to there. It's not too obscene. And then I've literally pushed the wire straight over the top of the sound bomb. We can cable tie it to the sound bomb probably. And that will then be a perfect length to meet up at the front of the bike in that A shape where the frame meets at the very front of the bike. And the same with the other side. Yeah, this is a very neat option. This is. End of the day, you choose where you want to attach your cable ties, where you feel comfortable. The trick is to hide the wires as much as you possibly can, and do not connect them to anything that moves. Obviously, all the top part of the bike, none of it moves, so don't connect anything to the fork. Another one just there. Thread that through the top. You could take it down and attach it to the brake pipe, the brake cable, and so it follows the same route under the sound bomb. But there's absolutely no need for that. You can go straight above it. Nice. Right, changed my mind. So forget all that. We're going to actually unclip them, because as the suspension comes down, if you're going down some big dips and the suspension fully compresses, that can cause the whole front to come down above the sound bomb. That whole bit can come down. It can actually cause a problem, whereas it won't with the sound bomb, because the sound bomb isn't attached to a moving part, whereas although I'm not attaching it to a moving part, it's being connected in that middle section. It's just that as it can come down, it can cause a problem. So we're actually not going to connect it there. We are still going to leave it connected. Still going to leave the cable ties where they are though, because it keeps up out of the way. And then run it along the sides. So if I bring that, so running it along here at the side, and then that's going to come round. So I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to cable tie it to these cables here. So it's coming straight up. It's not getting in the way of anything. Coming straight up from the light, straight up to here, coming around underneath here, and literally leaving it lying on top just there. Just trim that tight. Do the same the other side. Bring it straight up. Cable tie it to here. Like that. And then run this right. So if you look at where I've got them finishing, you'll see them just there. So that's the D7 on the left hand side of the bike, and that's the D7 on the right hand side of the bike. And then we're going to join them inside here. Eventually going to be tied on nice and tight, and we're going to join them in just in there. So now we're going to get the S4s ready, and these are being fitted by using engine guard frame mounts. These are the 21 to 29 millimeter frame mounts. So with these, I'm just going to put them on very loosely to begin with, because there's so many different ways it can go on. And this is the first for me, fitting S4s. So they're a very new light on the marketplace. And because the crash bar is currently swinging out, there's no point in trying to get this level until I've actually all got it on. All I want to do is get the light hanging from here for now, just so I can start routing the wires to where I want them to go. So just leave that line there. Put it in a plastic bag so it doesn't mark the... Right. And we're not going to cable tie the wire up yet, we're just going to find the route for it. And so I have wired up D4s in this position, obviously on my own motorbike. And we're going to kind of like take this kind of route along here, and it just disappears. So I'm just going to lay that there. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I'm now going to start screwing all the panels back together again, and then we're going to make all these attachments as we go along. But obviously, I need this crash bar to be fitted back to the bike before I can start actually deciding where I'm going to position them. Okay, so it's all kind of like in reverse order, really, of how we took it apart. So. First things first, I'm going to get the beacon. So the left side goes on first. Obviously, bearing in mind, we've got to get this wire threaded through at the same time. So remember, the first thing we've got to do, there's a little black rubber grommet in there. It's got to slide over that pin. So that's the black grommet over the pin. It's great. So there's nothing to really clip into place at this stage. Like this side panel here has got to slide into two separate little holes on the side panel here, but we can focus on that after I've got the screw in down here. So remember this little tiny screw you've got to get out down there? That's one of the first things that I've got to go back when you get the side panel on. Now, making sure we've got a route still that I can take when that goes in. Right, so I'm going to bring this up, swivel the crash bar back into place a little bit, making sure nothing's going to mark anything. And the route we're going to take is, let's grab the close-up camera. Right, so all I've done is slide the grommet onto the little pin, and I haven't screwed anything in place yet. I'm just going to get this through because this wire is going to come through this way. So that wire is now in place, which we can fit later. And now he's going to get that screw in first, the awkward little screw, and then we can start reattaching everything else. Okay, so that little screw's in, and I just need to tighten it up. Remember, lots of patience required with this screw. I still haven't found a tool yet that I can attach to it and just do it up with ease. Right, so that's in there like that. At this stage, we can now actually fit the crash bar back on. Right. Now we're going to get a really good idea of how we're going to position this light before we start fitting all the panel down. Also, I think that should go that side. I think there's more space if I go down there. Right. So I'm just going to start messing around, having a really good look at this, exactly how, so we know where we want it. We can still adjust it a bit later on, but I think that is the optimum position for it. Just there. It's really good. You can set it right back there actually, so you can bring it in nice and close. So if you did drop your bike, it's not sticking out further, well, it's nowhere near sticking out further than the crash bars. You could either have it out here, or you could have it right back there. And I think I'm going to ask the customer where he would like it. Yeah, let me just go and grab the customer and see what he would like. So for this bit, so I've spoken to the customer and he wants to have them nice and neat to the, and close to the bike. So it's all about making the platform on the mount as flat as possible. And obviously we've got to get symmetrical on the other side as well. So I've tightened up both the two hex nuts each side. Just going to give them another tweak. Tell you what, let's get this on tight. 13mm spanner. So I've got these on really tight now, but I can still just about move them with my hand. Really nice light this is. Right, so I'm just going to cable tie that. So let's get that nice and tight. There we have it. And push that round so you can't see the cable tie connection. Right, and now we're going to start screwing it all back together again. Oh, that's going to look lovely, that is. It's going to look really, really good. Right, so now we're going to put on the other side. So hot. Oh. So from learning what we did on the last one, on the routine, we're going to make sure we get that sorted pretty quickly. So there's no pins to go on this one. It's a case of taking out the screw that's on the side of there, because that's going to get in the way. So we're going to click, make sure we get all the things in position correctly down here. So there's like, you'll see there's like little tongue grooves which all line up on the front of the beak, which I see so many people get wrong. And the screws for the remember, we left the screws inside these here, so for the beak. So I'm actually not going to put that on just yet, the beak, because we still might need to get our hands. Well, we do need to get our hands down inside the front of the bike to cable tie the wires inside here. So We're going to leave that like that for now. So remember the small little screw, this side, that's got to go on, it's just down here. Right, so before we start clipping all these panels in, we're going to get this put back on. Right, thread this cable through. So pass that through here, through here. Cut off the excess and slide the zip tie connection round so it's not seen. And there's that. So I've now got all 4 cables, S4s, D7s, all hanging loose at the top here, ready for connection when we've got the bike all back together again. Right, now we can start putting this all back together again. So, right, this is quite important actually. Let's make sure that you can see us clearly on camera. First things first, so we've already got the little screw in here. We've got the front all connected properly. So everything's on its little, the little pins on going through the grommets. So what we're going to do is get this all screwed on first. So the black part of this. So there's a little like a piece of long plastic which has to go through this little letterbox here. So you push that through there. You've got more at the back along here as well. They're probably going to come out again later on when we try to put the actual top of the bike on. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Don't be afraid to bend the panel a little bit. It is a very flexible plastic. Okay, those ones are in there. This one's not in yet. That one's now in. And then you've got 2 little clips where one clip where there's one clip where it has to go up. Like when you see it, you know what I mean. So that all the clips are in place. And secure that in place. All I need to do now is put that screw back in there. And there's one screw down here as well I need to put back in again, which might be tricky to get to because the light's in the way, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so we're just putting the screw in this side. Not the easiest one to get to, but we will manage. That screw there I've just put in there. A bit tricky to get to, but not impossible. Now you need to put the other side on. Same again. We need to get the 3 things through. You've got 2 up here, And because this side panel comes off, it's so much easier to get your hand under and push the little thing through. But that's now in, and then this side, that's in, and then that's all together. I'm happy with that. All the clips are in place. Now we've got to put that screw in there and put the cover on it and the screw down here. That's on. Right, that's all screwed back into place. Now we're going to put the side pieces on here. Actually, saying that, before I put that on, I'm actually going to make the connections. So just to show you a close-up on the camera. So you should be able to see here that I've got all the connections here coming from the CANsmart, coming from all the lights, and we're going to connect them all up so they connect inside this A-frame here, just down here. Okay, so just putting all this back together again now. So before you put these screws all the way in, you're double checking again to make sure none of these little teeth, the little sliders have come out, which they haven't, which is good. Great. And the other side. And remember, the two screws that go here are slightly bigger than the rest. So I put those to one side. There we go. So there's lots of slack there. That's a sound bomb cable. Lots of slack there because we pulled that one through. So it's up to you whether you want to pull that slack all the way through into the back or whether we coil it up under here. I'm going to coil it. I'm going to coil it here. It's not in the way. There's loads of room down there to actually hide anything you want, really. It's a sound bomb. Right, now let's put the tank cover on. So with this one, it's a case of you push it down so it clicks down all around the fuel cap, but you've got to hook that bit under there, and the same the other side. So it's a little bit tricky. So I tend to get that side in there. I haven't pushed it down yet and clicked it in place. Get this side in as well. And you probably won't get both done at the same time. Might be stopping it from going down. No, it's all good. Right, so pop it down and then slide that one in there. Like, I've got to be honest, I'd normally put those in after I put this on, so you get a bit more movement from this, which I think I'm going to have to do anyway. I've got one side in because there's a little bit of flex there, but I'm going to have to loosen these off. And that will give me the movement I need of this panel here, so I can slide this underneath. There we go, that's now in. That's all the way down. Tighten these back up again. And inside here we've got all the screws that fit in here. Now remember, some have got shoulders and some haven't. Make sure you get the right ones into the right places. And you've got that big long one for the front. So I'm going to put that one in first, because that's probably the hardest one to get to. And so you don't want things tightened up and then that not lining up. I did a bike a few weeks ago which had bar risers on it, and it made this bolt impossible to get to. Impossible. Okay, and then just give that a tweak with the grips. So put it back on place again. There we go. So when you put in the screws in up here, basically that when the screw goes in, it's joining this panel here and this panel together. So by moving this here underneath will help you line up the hole. When you look at it, sometimes you can't see the hole it's going into, but just by moving that panel, wiggling it a bit, you'll see the hole appear. Okay. It's so hot here, even the ground's hot. And it's not, and I'm in the shade. It's like sitting on an oven. Right, okay. Ooh. So you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm literally just finding a very nice spot to attach the cable tie. I showed this on one of my other videos. To always do this for your cable ties. Wrap them around a screwdriver or something, let go, and it gives you a curl. So when you pop it in, it comes back to you when you go around a pole or something. Or supposed to anyway. Yeah, it's come back. There we are. Very neat job. So as you put the beat back on, you've got like little grooves inside here, and you've got little pieces that go in those grooves there. So you're lining those up to make sure they slide inside. And bring that up. And then pop the screws in. I can see my reflection in the lamp of the bike, and I'm absolutely glowing red because I'm so hot. That is done. Right, so installation complete. There's the lights, S4s, D7s all installed. It looks pretty mean. So we're just going to set up the lights to make sure they're not dazzling oncoming traffic. Obviously they're bright, we want to be seen, but we don't want to be dazzling everyone. And I had a question from a customer not long ago saying, you know, how do you do this? Do you line something up in the garage to make sure the beam doesn't go over a certain height? But this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the customer to sit on the bike, and I'm then going to start lowering myself. Well, I'll show you how I do it. So as I start crouching down to about a driver's height in a car, it's the ones that are dazzling me. So I want the D7s and the S4s to dazzle me at the same time as his main driving light. Right. That's fine, no one is. Right, okay, so as I dip down, I don't want anything dazzling me until I get to a certain height. So I'm getting dazzled by the left-hand D7. That's high. That's fine, it's great. Yeah, give me full beam.
If this video has been of
Yeah.
any value to you, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe and give us a like. Thanks for watching.